Shirley first. Shirley, welcome to YouLead Unplugged. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. Okay, is everything okay, Shirley? Oh, just
hi. Oh, I'm unmuted. Sorry, I guess a lag or something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, guys. I'm super excited to be here with all of you. My name is Shirley Kandabu. I am the co-founder and chief operations officer of the icreate project, which is a platform that works to scale and connect low-income makers to market opportunities while providing inclusive financial products such as savings, payment, and credit. So basically for us, every day is about trying to integrate Ugandan makers into the global economy and ensure that their products and that culture is constantly maintained across worldwide.
Okay, thank you so much. I like how, like all our guests are usually very young people. I love to hear co-founder. I feel like you guys are out here creating things. You're creating. It's not, sometimes it's like, oh, youth want this and youth want that, but people are actually out here creating things, founding things. So it's amazing. I love to hear that. And let me also invite Collins to just tell us a little bit about himself and what he does. Welcome, Collins.
Thank you very much, Fiona, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Collins Kimaro, as very kindly introduced by Fiona. And just to highlight something you said that's so important, I think that we're learning together. I think not all consider ourselves as experts in this topic, so it's really interesting to have this co-learning experience with you all. I am also a co-founder of Obuntu Hub, which is an innovation hub based in Arusha, Tanzania. If you haven't been to Arusha yet, you're warmly welcome to the East African Community Capital. Ubuntu Hub aims to empower young entrepreneurs, and we do so by providing three things. The first is co-working space, so space where young entrepreneurs can come and get instead of having to rent an expensive office on their own. Second is providing practical skills training, where we're trying to help entrepreneurs really learn things that they need on a daily basis to improve their and grow their businesses, to tackle this challenge of unemployment that brings us together today. And lastly, true to the meaning of Ubuntu, how we define it. Maybe in your country, you also have a version of Ubuntu, which is very common across Africa. This idea of collective progress, that we need each other. We need Fiona, we need Shirley, we need Sandra, we need Musa, we need everyone to come together to help these young entrepreneurs to grow, because it really is a difficult journey. And to do so by building a community, first connecting the entrepreneurs amongst themselves, because we think they have much to learn from each other, but then also helping to connect them with other stakeholders that can help them to grow. That's a quick introduction into Ubuntu Hub, and just to mention that we are transitioning through a partnership now to form a new hub in Arusha called the Western Startup House Arusha.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about what you do. I think we're going to have such a great discussion. You guys are just, you're really in there. So I think we're going to have a really wonderful discussion. Let me just say hi to a couple of people in the comments. Hey guys, I see so few people in the comments. If you are around, please go ahead. Let us know where you're from and your name and everything. I see Milliam from Malawi. Welcome. Very excited to have you join us. And I see your Wal. Joining from South Korea. Fantastic. That's amazing. People from all over. We love to hear that. So guys, please go ahead. Tell us where you're from, and also feel free to leave like a comment, a question, contribution, absolutely everything. We want to hear from you, because the conversation is not just among us. We'll open it up at the end so that you can speak a little bit as well. Oh, and I guess this is also a good time to let you know that if you really want to share, you actually want to say what you're saying, you can just put up your hand, and then I'll get to you at the tail end of this episode. We'll start off with the guests. Okay, great. So we are just going to get into our conversation. I just want to share a quote. Our director, Ivan Atiyambe, said this, and I felt like it was so relevant to our conversation, that young people do not only form the biggest population of Africa and the world, they are an asset. But again, a population that is unskilled and unemployed can be a demographic curse. And we all know that no matter where you come from on the continent, you know that unemployment is a scourge that we are all working hard towards alleviating, working hard towards making spaces for young people to have, you know, formal employment, you know, gainful, something gainful, so that they can build a living, just build a living. So let me start with Shirley. I know that the icreate project specifically focuses on art, you know, on artisans. And I was wondering why that field, like what is it about the arts that you guys identified and said that that's something we're going to focus on that can have real impact?
Thank you, Fiona. Maybe just to give another whole background to myself. I know you asked me to introduce myself earlier, but perhaps to just give a whole summary of everything. Honestly, I'm very passionate about creating inclusive systems, products for women, youth, and low-income communities. When I left university, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. So I took a leap of faith and joined a government parastatal here in Uganda, in the audit department, where I got to visit some of the most underprivileged areas across the country. And having grown up sort of I think we lived sort of a sheltered existence during that time. So I hadn't necessarily witnessed firsthand the need to create more inclusive systems. I grew up in quite a different sort of way, as opposed to which about 70% of the Ugandans. And that's when I witnessed really firsthand the innate need to create more inclusive systems for the vulnerable groups of people. But I wasn't sure exactly what it is I wanted to do. So I took another, I think about 2015, then I joined Barclays Bank Uganda, where I worked again on several CSR initiatives that included the Barclays Ready to Work program that was piloted in, I think, 8 countries across Africa that focused on mitigating the growing youth unemployment challenge across Africa. Again, there was this problem of, okay, there's this huge unemployment issue, about maybe 24 at this time. What can I do about it? I wasn't exactly sure as well. So I was like, okay, let me just, you know, take a breather and just work on this CSR initiative. And through that CSR initiative, I was introduced to an innovation hub, which is the Innovation Village, where I headed operations, running the hub and running several cross-functional departments, while being the point person for several accelerators, forums, and platforms. So I felt like, okay, here I am, I'm in this space, I'm working with lots and lots of young people, and I'm working on programs that are fostering entrepreneurship, innovation, and engagement. But again, there was this little, you know, niche that I hadn't yet carved out for myself. Those vulnerable groups of people that I saw in the very beginning of my career. So I decided, and I think it was also about that time that I started thinking closely about my grandmother, Philomena Kandabu, who used to weave mats. And from the sale of her mats, she was able to send my father and his 10 siblings to school. And I thought about how if selling mats, if something as simple as selling mats and selling those basic wares to different communities, she was able to put 10 children through school. Perhaps this could be an initiative that I could maybe try to improve on or try to scale up and ensure that it could be implemented across Uganda. So together with my 3 co-founders, we've
guys, please mute your mics. I see someone called Advax. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced that, but yeah, please keep your mics on mute so that we can hear each other properly. And okay, all right. I also ask Seba on the back end to just observe, make sure that our mics are all off so that the speaker can have some room. Okay, great. Let's go ahead. Go ahead, Shirley. Shirley, are you there? Okay. I'm not sure if we lost her. Shirley, are you there? Okay, so maybe we'll give her a little bit of time to reconnect probably, but let me just re-echo. Let's make sure all our mics are off. Let me just say hi to some of you here as okay, I think Shirley is back.
Oopsies.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Shirley.
Okay. Oopsies. So I was delving into my experience within the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem here in Uganda, where I was running the Innovation Village, being the point person for several accelerators, forums, and platforms that were aimed at fostering entrepreneurship, innovation, and engagement. But then again, I hadn't really, I just thought a lot back to to the beginning of my career, where I had witnessed this innate need to create inclusive systems, and I hadn't yet found out what.
Okay, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Shirley. Yeah, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
My grandmother, Shirley Kandabu, who used to live our home. Hello?
Okay, sorry, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you there. Yeah, we can hear you now, I think.
This is much better?
Yes, yes.
You need to tell me what service provider you're using.
We'll talk after this. Go ahead.
So I need to understand which part didn't you hear?
Okay, so you were at that point where you were talking about your grandmother?
Okay. So from the sale of her mats at nearby markets, she was able to provide for her family and help send my father and his siblings to school. This was a conscious and intentional act, which invariably broke the cycle of poverty for our family. Connect low-income maker communities. I thought to myself, really, if a product at a nearby market, how much more money would she have made if she was able to take her wares to different spaces and different places? And how much better would her business acumen have been if she was provided with the necessary saving tools, if she was provided with the necessary credit? I hope you have had all of that. Fiona? Can you hear me?
Oh no, yes, we can hear you. Sorry, I was also muted.
Oh, okay, cool. So I think that was it for me with regards to my submission and where this started from and why the icreate project.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I've always found it so interesting that you guys just zeroed in on the arts, maybe because it's something that I'm also passionate about, but also because it's something we don't see enough. Someone's mic is on. Someone's mic on. Deograsha, please mute. Okay. So yeah, I've always found it just like, I find that it's an area that sometimes maybe we don't pay enough attention to. And so that's why even before, like the first time I ever reached out to you about what you do, I just thought, okay, yeah, the arts. And you focused on it and you found people who are already in it or people who are willing to learn and actually earn from it. And I think that's one of the ways, to just tap into those spaces that are kind of being neglected and see how we can create more opportunities for the so many people who may have these skills or who are willing to learn those very skills. So let me take the conversation also a little bit to our other guest, Collins. I know that at Ubuntu Hub, you're all about empowering entrepreneurs. And when we say entrepreneurs, we are talking, not exclusively about, but that's a big part of that is innovators, people who are coming up with new things, solving problems that have existed and we probably didn't know that we could make better. So I'd like you to talk about what kind of opportunities there are for job creation and innovation in whatever spaces, because I feel like probably you've seen people who do a lot of different things in your space in Ubuntu Hub, and maybe you can just share with us why innovating, why we shouldn't all be waiting to do the same things, why we should be heading towards, fixing problems, becoming innovators. Yeah, go ahead.
We all should be innovators indeed, and I think we all are to some extent. And I like so much how you didn't mention the word technology in your introduction, because I think sometimes we box innovation to technology when there's so much more than that. For example, Shirley's grandmother's very inspiring story. This is a wonderful local example of the power of innovation. Let me take a step back and maybe take a little bit the story of Ubuntu Hub and why did we create this that can kind of set the context for trying to respond to your question, Fiona. And similar to Shirley, also in Tanzania, maybe 5 years ago, my co-founder Shirley Kandabu and I, after doing this training, which was the African Leaders Initiative training, came back to Arusha, and we were the only two that went to this training from Arusha. When we came back, we looked at our young people and said, wow, we have been so blessed. What can we do to give back to our local community? We did our research and we said, okay, young people, as you quoted Ivan, they're saying huge potential, huge asset for all our countries in the continent, but this challenge of how do we meaningfully provide employment for them so they can contribute to the socioeconomic development. And in doing so, at that time, and I'm not sure if for the audience that is with us today in your countries, you're also hearing a lot of this preaching that young people should stop being job seekers, they should be job creators, they should go out by themselves and do things, which is very, 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 very true. But at that time in our city, we thought that there was not so much support to help these innovators, help these entrepreneurs to really build and grow their businesses. And so this challenge is what inspired us to start Ubuntu Hub. And what led us to that is our belief that innovation is a catalyst of development. It's a catalyst for development for 3 reasons. The first one is it's able to democratize access to vital skills and products. And here you can think about so many different sectors where, thanks to innovation, and again here we don't want to say that innovation equals technology. No, thanks to innovation, which for us, we look at it as a creation of new value, which can be a new product, can be a new business model, a new way of doing something, but really this creation of new value is able to democratize access to vital skills and vital goods and services. I give an example. One of our innovators here, as part of the Ubuntu Nation family, their company is called KSM Organic. The innovator is Frank, and he has made fertilizer, but in liquid form. And because it's in liquid form, it's able to be more, deliver more nutrients to the crops and the soil. Therefore, you need less of the fertilizer, which means it's more affordable for farmers. And because it's more effective, more affordable, it's increasing access to fertilizer, which we know is a big challenge for many farmers across our countries, which limits productivity, limits the yield that we're able to get on the farm, which limits the income of farmers, all of this. So because Frank and his team dared to innovate, dared to bring something new into the market, we're able to increase access to things like fertilizer. Another example of the power of innovation is not only increasing access to goods and services, but then also in terms of scaling. And here we see really the strength of tech-enabled innovations, which are able to scale so much faster than the traditional. To learn secondary school students.
Sorry, I think we lost you for like a second, but go ahead.
No problem. Can you hear me now? Fantastic. So, the second strength of innovation and why we think it's so important for creating grassroots jobs and impact is the ability to scale. We know our countries are growing so quickly, and so that requires really a lot of resources to be able to meet the needs of these growing populations. And so here we really see the advantage of tech-enabled innovations. So for example, George, the founder of SmartCo, which they've developed Kisomo app, which is a digital platform that works online and offline, so it's able to reach even those that are not connected. It works offline as well, but it really improves the learning experience of students. Instead of you learning theory, Fiona, this is what a volcano looks like when a volcano erupts. You're just reading through it by paper and on a book. You get to see it through animated videos. So it really brings the learning to life, helping to improve the learning outcomes, and finally, the results of students across Tanzania. And because of this innovation, he's been able to reach 150,000 young people across Tanzania in just a space of 5 years. Can you imagine how many resources and how much time it would take for a traditional school that is brick and mortar to be able to reach 150,000 people across the country? So in terms of scale, we really see the power of innovations. And last, I would say, is in terms of creating jobs. Because of this democratization, because of this increasing the access to services, increasing access to goods, scaling and creating markets, what we call a market creating innovations, this is really helping to create jobs. And we know that I don't know of any country in the world, I think not even only in Africa, but in the world, that's able to employ all its people through the public sector, for example. So we need the private sector where innovations can really come through to create jobs. And here, let's not even think of the very big, maybe innovative companies that we know of, but let's even think of a small scale in our villages. Let's think of if we were able to empower young people at a village level, maybe to create a small factory that could process some of the crops that are in that area, maybe how many jobs would be created from that? And if that was one, let's call this person Juma. If there was one Juma or one Angela, how many, if we created 10 of them that are all creating 3, 4 jobs, it really creates a ripple effect across the continent to help tackle this challenge of unemployment, especially at the grassroots level. So I think those would be just some of examples that really make us excited for innovation as a driver of development across the continent. Back to you, Fiona.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. I really like when you're talking about that ripple effect. I think it's just, I don't know, like for me, it's like exciting, the fact that we can do small things that can have a really, really wide-reaching impact, which is something that I admire in both, the kind of work you're doing and the kind of work that Shirley does. And it's amazing to see so many people, coming up and creating, innovation hubs and creating programs like this to just, to create that ripple, because I'm such a big believer in doing your 1%, because then your 1% is like the next and then causes the next and so on and so forth. And then we have, we can grow. We're never just like stagnant. Even if we grow slowly, we're moving towards something. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let me not leave you guys out of the conversation. Hello, Claudine, welcome. Ibrahim, Sandra from Uganda, Deogracias from Burundi, Mary Shirima, you're always with us. Thank you for joining us every single Thursday. Welcome, Edward, Ange. Yes, I'm just telling you to keep the mics off, and you guys are doing a good job. So thank you. So usually at this point, we have a tiny bit of trivia, just to break up the session a little bit. We try to keep this space both for learning and also, having a little bit of fun. So we're going to have a little bit of a trivia session. If you haven't been with us before, we'll have a couple of questions. If you know the answer, just put your hand up first or comment first, whichever. If you put your hand up, you can just unmute yourself and tell us the answer. And yeah, that's really how it goes. Super easy. So let us go to question 1. Question 1 is, so we've been doing riddles. So question 1 is a riddle. What can run but never walks, has a mouth but never talks, has a head but never weeps, and has a bed but never sleeps? Thinking caps on. Who knows this one? Oh, Charles. The trivia king, go ahead.
Can I answer too?
River.
Did someone answer before Charles? Oh, I think someone took it from Charles. I think it was Richard. Is it you that said river?
Yes, river.
All right. Thanks, Richard. That was so quick. Wait, do you guys just be at your homes reading riddles, or you guys are just really sharp? Me, I didn't know.
We have a lot of random facts we know.
Ah, okay, that's nice. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The second question is, okay. Let me just read it from my end. So which UN-initiated worldwide online campaign is currently running? I know the question doesn't give details because I feel like you guys know. If you are on social media, me, I don't. Okay, Charles, go ahead.
So I'm thinking out loud. I think it's two. Number one, the 16 days of activism. And then number two would be, oh, nice. So I got it in the first shot.
Yes, you did. I couldn't even see who was talking. Sorry, who was that? Was that you, Charles?
Yes, that was me.
Okay. Well done. We're going to give you like 2 weeks off, I think. You're always the one with the answers. Other people should shine. But thank you. I see your hands are up as well, Ange and Lydia. I know you knew the answers. I know it in my heart that you knew the answer is Orange the World. So you are winners alongside Charles. So yes, it is the Orange the World campaign to end violence against women. And on that note, I just want to share a little bit of something that I read. A new report from the UN Women based on data from 13 countries shows that 2 in 3 women reported that they or a woman they know have experienced some form of violence and are more likely to face food insecurity. Only 1 in 10 women said that victims would go to the police for help. While pervasive gender-based violence is not inevitable, it can and must be prevented. Stopping this violence starts with believing survivors, adopting comprehensive approaches that tackle the root causes, transforming harmful social norms, empowering women and girls. With survival-centered essential services across policing, justice, health, and social sectors, and sufficient financing for women's rights agendas, we can end gender-based violence. Let us each do our 1%. If your 1% is simply being good to the woman next to you, to the women in your community, then do that. That is your 1%. And when someone else sees you, then they carry that to the next person and the person after that. Okay, so the third question for trivia is, last week's Unplugged featured guests from which organization? And that little picture is us looking at you like, were you there? Wait. Who is, if it's Charles, hold on. I'm going to give somebody else a shot. Okay, I see the other hand I see up is Ange. Ange, go ahead. But this is not fair.
East African Youth Ambassadors.
It's Ma from Tunisia.
Okay. Yeah, it is ESC. Yap. Kamala, you have lied. It was not Meher. That was the week before that. You have been caught in a lie. All right, so it was the ESC app. They were kind enough to join us last week to have like a really great conversation, which you can catch on our Facebook, on our YouTube. All of these sessions are streamed over there. So the recordings are always saved for you to catch up on some of these conversations if you'd like to. Okay, so that ends the trivia round. Thank you guys for being part of it. I see Ange wants to be the trivia queen. Please, you will compete alongside James, who is the reigning champion of trivia. I think he just stays up reading trivia, this man. Okay, so let's get back into our conversation. I hope, okay, let me just make sure my guests are still here with us. Shirley, you're still there as well? I don't see you. Okay, just in case she is not with us, let me just make sure.
Here I am.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. I was just making sure. Okay, so continuing that conversation. Actually, before we broke off for the trivia Collins mentioned a little bit about this, about the Grassroot. And I know that with the icreate project, Shirley, one of the things that really jumped out even as I was reading on your website is that grassroots level intervention. And I feel like it's something we say a lot, like always be like, yeah, we need the grassroots approach, we need the grassroots this and that, and we theorize it and all of that. So maybe just tell us, why do you feel like this is so important for job creation? Why is it something that we should not just be theorizing and just putting to action, actually doing? Go ahead.
So for me, I think it started with the way my journey began, going back to Uganda Road Fund and witnessing firsthand that vulnerable group of people that literally were living in absolute poverty. And then when I moved to the Innovation Village, heading the several cross-functional roles and also being part of innovation interventions aimed at youth and empowering young people, there was a disconnect, because you realize that the people who need these interventions the most are not able to access them, because most of the programs aimed at youth unemployment are practically based within Kampala, within the capital cities. So what about the grassroots? What about the 70% of young people who actually need this intervention? Because those are the people that we're leaving behind. I feel like even in our own families, we have younger cousins, we have relatives that we know that perhaps stay within these rural areas. And even at our age, they have about 4 to
Okay. I think Shirley has frozen for a bit. Let's first give her a second to try and get back. All right. I don't know if you can hear me, Shirley, but I think we've lost you. But you can just give me a thumbs up, or maybe let me know in the comments when you're able to get back, because I don't know, I think we've lost you for a second there. You've just frozen. You can also try maybe exiting and coming back, and then we can just pick it up from there. For now, I think let's just, let's proceed as we give her a chance to reconnect there. Guys, I see you in the comments. I see everyone. Oh, we're having a lot of, I feel like Malawians are joining us more often these days. That's really nice. Welcome, guys. Welcome, and thank you for joining us every week. Okay, all right. So we're just going to we're going to sort of switch gears, and then we'll come back to what we were talking about with Shirley once she's back. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about skills development, which I know is a primary thing, a primary focus in the work that you do at Obuntu Hub, Collins. And the question is, what kind of skills do you believe are primary for young innovators? From the basic things, even if it's customer care, what are those things that young innovators should really be focusing on? And maybe you can also share with us what kind of work, how you guys are implementing that. How are you imparting that knowledge to young innovators? Oh, Shirley is back. We'll get back to you, Shirley, in a second. Let me let Collins answer that one.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I think this is a really great question that I think troubles many people at night, of all this huge African youth population. How do we give them the necessary skills to lead sustainable lives? And if we think about it from our perspective for Ubuntu Hub, first thing we really think is so important, especially as we're growing more and more into a technology world. Something that even technology really struggles to do is the empathy, this human-centered skills, so the ability for a young innovator, a young entrepreneur to really understand the challenges that their customer, beneficiary is facing, and to design solutions that can really well solve these problems. And I know it sounds like a soft skill, but it's so important to lead to successful innovation, successful jobs, in whatever field actually you're working in. Even just how you through empathy and being human centered, it really helps you even communicate better. Even if you're not an innovator and not an entrepreneur per se, it really helps you even in your daily interactions with people. So empathy is such a big skill that we think is important. That's one. The second we would say is the ability to learn. And this one is, I don't know if I'd ask anybody in this audience with us today or who'll watch this later on, if anybody feels that the formal education where they stopped has given them all the necessary skills they need for their current lives, please they should let us know so that we can also go to that school or university or what program you did. And so we constantly need to be learning. And I think this is one of the key skills that all of us need, regardless of our fields, the ability to learn, because things are changing every single day. And so we need to be able to adapt and learn new things as they come along. The third, I would say, and I'm spelling out here an acronym, which I'm going to call HADE. So H was for human-centered, A was for ability to learn, D, I would say, is digital skills. Look at the meeting we're having at the moment. What a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to connect with people from across the continent simply from the comforts of our homes. And I think last year, the pandemic really put an acceleration on this, that regardless of the field that you're in, if before we thought that digital skills were only for the high-tech people, the formal educated people, digital skills are really now mandatory for all of us. And this differs to the level, right? We don't need everybody to become developers or graphic designers, but at least to be able to interact with digital tools, whether that's for communication purposes, whether that's for project management, whether that's for accepting digital payments as a young innovator that you're doing business maybe across your region. So this is digital skills at whatever level you are at is really important for us to grasp. And I know many of us are complaining that, oh, there's a shortage of jobs, but it actually, the sectors are changing. And if you look at, there are actually some jobs which there's not enough supply of across the world. If you look at jobs like developers, I think there's no single country that has enough supply of developers across the world. So I know it's in reverse, whereas now in many of our jobs, if you advertise for a role, you're gonna get hundreds of applications, but developers is the other way, where there are not even enough of them, and so they're being headhunted. So those are the kind of new jobs as the sectors are changing that digital can help us to take advantage of. And the last one I would say as the E of HADE is entrepreneurial skills. And I think we need to change this perception that entrepreneurship is only for the entrepreneurs who are running startups, who are doing No, regardless what field we're in and what job we're doing, we can be entrepreneurial. And how we look at entrepreneurial is this ability to see a problem, think of a solution, and then mobilize the resources to bring this to life. So that can be on your whether you're a doctor, whether you are a farmer, whether you are a tech entrepreneur, whichever field you find yourself in, but this ability to, okay, there is a problem, I want to think of something to solve this problem, then I'm going to mobilize resources, whether that's funds, whether that's people, whether that's tools to make this come to life. So I think these are the key skills we think are really important, which spells HADE, human-centered, ability to learn, D for the digital, and then the E for entrepreneurial skills, and how we try to impact this to our community. I think there's so much work to be done here. Definitely everybody has a role to play. As you say, Fiona, you're 1%, we all have a role to contribute in that. Is through our programs, we have different programs that are trained practically through these skills, some that are ranging, for example, for 6 weeks, where you come and you have to empathize as the first day. Go talk to your customer, find out what are their real problems, what are they currently using, why don't they like what they're currently using, what can you do better, etc. So over these 6 weeks, you're able to deliver the skills. We have other programs that are focused on digital. For example, at the moment we have a program called DigiTrade, which aims to help agripreneurs, so those in the agriculture sector, to see how can we use digital in our sector to grow my business. So taking again this idea that, oh, digital is only for the select few, but really democratizing it to the masses is one of the ways that we do so. And also through hopefully events like this, and thank you so much to the YouLead team for the invitation. Just the ability to share some thoughts and get feedback from the audience helps us to sensitize and raise awareness on these skills. Let me stop there for now.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, There's so many areas there that I would love to talk about, but I don't want to finish the time. But I think it's so interesting that you mentioned empathy. It's a big small thing. Like, you don't think that, oh, this is something you should focus on, but it's so important, because when I think of my own customer experiences, usually the challenges are in that the person who is serving you, the vendor, the business owner, the entrepreneur, is not understanding what the shortcoming is or what I need. Okay, so that just that ability to find out what is this person that you're serving, like what is it that they need exactly? Is it just the product, or do they also need a little something extra, so that you can give the best possible experiences? Because people come back for experiences. I can say that as a customer, we come back for those experiences. So let me go back to Shirley. You were still sharing with us about grassroots intervention before the internet tried to do some things, but you're back. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for bearing with my connection. Again, hopefully entrepreneurship innovation will help sort out this whole mess in this country. Fingers crossed, Fiona. So for grassroots intervention, really, when I worked within the startup ecosystem as the head of operations for the Innovation Village, I was dealing mainly with accelerators and forums and platforms that were for people like me, but never for the people that I met years ago during my country tours. So I thought about what can I do that will stop. I think also one problem that I also had to think about was the mass exodus of young people to go to the Middle East, to be guards, to be housemaids, to just take on the basic trades. So what can I do in my very basic capacity to ensure that this mass exodus is mitigated? And that's when I thought about the icreate project. It's something that my mother did, that my grandmother did, just weaving mats and doing just the basic baskets. And these were products that I realized should be marketed and could be marketed better on a digital platform, and then sold to people that would be able to pay a good amount of money for our product. And in that sense, young people like me, but in rural areas, are able to make a living, are able to sit at home and actually have that dignity and maintain that economic independence that they should, as opposed to, selling whatever property they have to move to the Middle East. Some of the young girls and women are raped, are murdered. And this is literally, the story everywhere. So what could I do in my, limited capacity to ensure that this does not continuously happen across Uganda? And I think to date, we have onboarded about 25 makers, and we hope that as our capacity grows, we're able to onboard and scale more and more, and ensure that, we're able to provide a very basic skill to somebody to ensure that they can actually stay home, weave a basket, make a piece of jewelry that they can sell and then get money. Because at the end of the day, if you have a talent, if there's something that you can utilize to ensure that you earn a livelihood, then you need to be able to try and find a way to enhance that. Yeah, so that was my thinking about grassroots interventions.
Yeah. All right, thank you for sharing that. There's nothing to add. Grassroots intervention is so important. Something I think we talk about in every single field. How do we involve everybody? That opportunities are not limited only to a few people or a few areas. How do we make these things available for everyone? Because growth, it has to happen like all over. If Kampala is growing and the rest of the country is not growing, then we're not really doing much. So yeah, thank you for sharing on that. I see a question from Charles about skills development. So I guess I'll direct this one to Collins. He says, talking of skills development, who takes the responsibility of imparting these skills to the youth? Does it end with the government, for example, Ministry of Education, or is there a place for the private sector to help in skills development? Maybe you can share with us your thoughts on that, Collins.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Charles. I think this is a great question. And I think I would agree with you the proposition in your question that perhaps it does not end with government. I think definitely our governments have a key role in setting the framework. So the governments to set, for example, the accreditations that could help recognize certain skills training and create the infrastructure for young people to develop their skills. But I definitely would advocate that this cannot end with government. And there are many reasons why. First, I think in terms of skills that are required in today's world, things are moving too quickly for any one entity to be able to develop all the skills that are necessary. Such that, for example, let's look at an example, let's say, of COVID-19 last year, when many countries went into a lockdown and that mandated people learning new skills, like have the ability to work from home, all these new digital tools that came about from this. And I think it would be very difficult to rely only on one entity, let's say the Ministry of Education, to be able to then train the masses on this. And so I think it requires a collective effort, And I think there's so much room for the private sector to be filling in those gaps. The private sector, which is normally faster than the public sector, the private sector, which often understands its needs better compared to any other actor. So they're able to see that, okay, as a private sector, maybe we're going to invest in this in a particular industry. Like recently, we just had the Tanzania-Uganda gas and oil conference that's looking to increase investment in these sectors. So now the private sector already knows that, okay, I need this amount of engineers that are skilled in this sector, this amount of engineers that can do 1, 2, 3 things, or this marketing people, these people. So because the private sector is on the ground, there's definitely huge room for them to impact these skills. And for example, what I think the governments can be doing to create an infrastructure there for the private sector to be able to incentivize the private sector to invest in skills training. So if we see in other countries, for example, where private sector is able to get some fiscal incentives if they offer apprenticeships maybe for young people, where they can come, young people coming from universities could learn on the job. Even if they're not coming from universities, they really learn on the job practically from a day-to-day basis, and then they're able to get certifications that can help them open doors for the future. So I think the government can create infrastructure, kind of like build the rails and let private sector run, because this is what private sector does, moves very quickly by on those rails, and that infrastructure has been built by the public sector. And when I say private sector, I think it's not only the corporates, these large organizations, but even small organizations like innovation hubs, like Ms. Shirley in our previous field. Innovation hubs also have, I think, a role to play in helping to scale, especially in the new skill sets, many of which are digital, because we're able to move faster, and we're interested in kind of these new skills that are coming up. So even small innovation hubs can do our 1% to contribute to the skills development.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I think for sure it has to be a collective effort. I think we can all agree. I like that. What do they call it? That picture that you painted of the wheels, and then the government just setting up those wheels, and then the private sector goes. There has to be that we sort of carry each other to make the dream work. So yeah, for sure. I don't know if anybody else thinks differently. You can tell us in the comments, but I think that's one of those things that we can all agree. It's important that different key players need to contribute a certain something. The government needs to incentivize, and the private sector needs to do what the private sector does, move, when they pick up something, move in that direction and go all the way. I'm just trying to involve, I see comments, and also if you want to say something, do put up your hand, and then we'll give you like 2 minutes, because I know we have about maybe 15 minutes to go. So if you'd like to say something, just put up your hand and I will get to you in a bit. I see Bridget says vocational trainings should start from younger ages, especially primary, young ones. So young ones can grow while developing what they're good at. Introducing extra subjects that will empower talent. Can save us a lot. This is true. This is absolutely true. Okay, I see a few hands up. So I see, oh, hi, Harriet is here. Hi, Harriet, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Fiona. Good to be here, and thank you to the panelists. It's a great discussion. So maybe just to catch up with the previous panelist in regards to the grassroots initiatives. I beg to be corrected, or maybe to really understand it beyond the concept of the rural setting. You know, from your explanations, when you talk about the rural setting, Kampala growing, and all this, I just want to make sure we don't lose maybe a point or something, especially in defining the grassroots initiatives. And I wanted to know how you understand it or how we can communicate it, especially when we are mobilizing, grassroots engagements, grassroots initiatives in all spheres and in all different communities. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let Shirley respond to that.
So for me, thank you for that, Harriet. So for me, really, my understanding and definition of grassroots was basically focused on a particular sector that I was interested in. So grassroots obviously can mean a multitude of things. But in my particular case, I decided to focus on something that I was passionate about, and which is the skilling of artisans and makers, supporting ethical production and supporting low-income maker communities. So I had to think about how can I support these people. And my first idea was to build a maker space, which I realized based here in Kampala. So grassroots intervention again goes back to try and figuring out what exactly the problem is. Was it that these people do not have the necessary skill set, or did these people not have the market space to ensure that their product is sold? And I figured that when it came to sort of defining that grassroots intervention, it wasn't just about building a cool space that most people see. It was about ensuring that these people had access to sustainable revenue streams, which then ensured that we're able to build a platform that connects them to opportunities, market opportunities in the UK, the US, and Canada. Because when I thought of interventions, people would either give them capital, but sometimes when you give people capital when they're not necessarily figured out what to do with it, then that can go astray. Building a space, that also wasn't a good intervention at that time. Skilling is good, but then if you don't provide where they're going to sell their product, then they'll make and make and make, but not necessarily have where to sell, which I've done before. Accelerators have a way to go, but for a certain niche of people. If you put people within rural areas through an accelerator, it's going to help them a very tiny bit before they fall off. So for me, I thought about what grassroots intervention can I ensure, number one, earn a living and are able to ensure a sustainable livelihood. Hence, creating a platform where they could get skilled, they learn how to make a basket, and then they're able to actually sell that basket and earn a living. I hope that has answered your question, Harriet.
Great, it did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I love that we're having this discussion. It's amazing. And you know what, let me not get into it, because then I'm going to talk too long and not give guys a chance. Okay, I see someone called Nilin Con Company Limited. Go ahead, Nilin Con Company Limited.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is John Lim Timwan. I'm a co-founder and CEO at Nilincoln. I'm from South Korea right now. It is morning already. I don't know, I think in East Africa, it is evening. So it is morning from us. It is really a pleasure that I joined the meeting. It is my first time. However, I used to follow all the activities being held by the YouLead Africa. So the name YouLead is a very unique name. So anyone who want to lead, any young want to lead. So that's why it is okay. This one is, the name is YouLead. Okay, I want to lead too. It is YouLead. Yeah. Regarding the topic of today, it was really a good topic. My addition to that, I think the major skill that we are needed as we need it as young people, or we need to do as an Africans. We have a very huge population that are unemployed. Most of them are young. And then if we think of, okay, creating jobs for those people, it is really a time. But I think the easier way for us to do is to help ourselves to help ourselves discover the power within ourselves to create jobs. Because even if now I'm running an organization, I might be a limited number that I can employ if I'm able to employ people. But if I help people discover the power within themselves, they can be able to do something good for themselves. I think that one could be the main thing that we should consider. And discovering potential within ourselves there's many ways that we can do it. Education is one. Is the main things. The other thing, sometimes there are individual things. For instance, let me say, if you say, okay, I want to create a job for myself, I want help from government. Money or something to deal with the trust, it's not that easy. Okay, even if you have idea, if you didn't build a trust, or you don't have like let's say a trust within yourself, no one will trust you too. Even if our government has money, we know Africa, our economy is very broken economy, no money. Even if we have money, still, if you didn't really prepare yourself, you can't get it. Like for instance, the country that I'm living right now, they have money, their economy is good. They are developed country, they have youth, they create jobs, and also they things like the way we do. But still, even if you think of something that you want to do, there's still a process for you to reach where you want to go. Also, we need to put more efforts. We need to put more effort to also get the trust from our people, the government, even the family. Because even within your family member, if you want to start business, for instance, there might be few people who are working at the family level. But if they can't trust you, no one can give you the little service that person has. Many people, like in abroad, they start businesses using their family saving, not government. Because government doesn't trust someone who is startup. You have to study yourself. If they see the potential in you, or they see that you are really keeping going, that's where people will help you. No one will help you in the beginning. The beginning is really you alone. Only family members can help you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
But if they can't trust you, so still no one is going to trust you outside of the family. So we really need to integrity is first. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you for sharing that. I think something that really came out is that, being a self-starter, okay? You need to be a self-starter. Go out there, be trustworthy, teach yourself something, and go forth. So thank you so much for sharing with us. I see Noel has his hand up. Noel, I'm going to give you just 1 minute to share what you'd like to share. Go ahead. Noel Kanthenga.
Yeah, hello. I hope you are able to hear me now.
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, yeah, I'm from Malawi. I'm the founder and director of Citizen Go Guidance. This thing, the topic of today, it's I don't know, it's huge. But let me try just to say this. I think it is like we cannot do something, whatever the training platforms that are there, they should be working towards according to the people they are focusing. Because you can see that in most of the developing countries, it is hard for them. They are developing, and then they have to put like what they can. They think job creation. It's a problem because it's like they give. We are talking about only entrepreneur, but here in Africa we have so many resources that our government can use. For example, we have rivers, and we know that the majority of this continent are the rural people or the poor people. Why can't we? They should supply fertilizers to all of them who are living along the rivers, so that they can use the resources that they have over there. Because nowadays it's like the youth, they're just traveling to the cities, going into the cities, and then you find that it is for us maybe who went to school. But somebody, you can't just say like, you cannot be like, okay, I'll give someone a training of 1 week so that I need to give them a startup so that they can use it, they can start business. No, that is not working for us. Some people, they are not good into the business. So it is like we have resources. The government of Africa, they should see the resources that they have in their countries and try to do something from there, not only like the way it is now, like they have to give loans to the people so that they have to be in the groups or whatever. That is not, I don't think that one it is helping in most of the country, because everything needs to start with an idea. And our education in Africa, to me, education means it's something that is there to develop critical thinking. But I don't think our African education is doing so, because we always find ourselves lagging behind. Because our education, I don't think it is doing enough for us, because everything starts with an idea. So when our young generation of ours, we should be like water. They always found its way. Winds, we can always find our solutions. So it means everyone, the youth, we should be thinking as an individual first before we go to at national level or at any other level. But at least we should be doing so. So that I think the governments of Africa, to end this one, they should be they have to use their way. And also we don't have to forget the majority, which is rural people or poor people of Africa. Those are the majority that we can focus on. And then we have to find something that can suit them, can match them. Not only that, maybe, sometimes it is like there is a challenge when it comes to policy making. Citizens, they are not involved when it comes to the policymakers, but then they receive something that they didn't expect from the government, and then the citizens, they do like, because the government, it is saying so, let us do this. And then this is not, I don't feel like the citizens, they are doing something which is good, but just somebody decided over there, it is like that. So I think to end this problem, we should see on how our citizens is. I think there we can take it from there, and that is the starting point to go forward. That's it. That is what I wanted to say.
All right, thank you so much. All right,
yeah.
Thank you so much for that spirited contribution. I think there's so many things there that we were agreeing with. I wish we had more time to really dig into it. But thank you. I think I only have time for one more person. And I see Edison, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Amy, for giving this wonderful time. And I want to thank everyone who has really said something. It has been a very wonderful discussion. And I thank you so much for today thinking into that local perspective of our local community on how we can use grassroots approach to scale our and create jobs for them. Me, I'm going direct into recommendation. In Uganda, I'm talking on behalf of Uganda because I'm Ugandan and I'm well versed with what's happening in Uganda. In Uganda, we have so many underlying government programs which are not really all that productive to the young people. We have things like youth livelihood support. We have a way where the government has put a lot of seeing the outcome. So I would suggest that we should use some of this fund to skill our young people and other people in the community in some kind of agro business. In my community right now, I have a gentleman who is doing mushroom growing and is doing well. In a day, he cannot fail to raise 50,000 Ugandan shilling. Imagine if we had many innovative young people like him who are doing the same. Some of us will not even be crying for white-collar job because we know we have papers, but the system, how it operates, is also limiting us from some other things. Then I'm also looking at our informal sectors because currently we have very many sectors, informal sectors, which are not operating due to COVID-19. And this is where most of our people, local people who did not go to school to the level that everyone would wish to have, were employed. What are they doing? They're just home. Can we streamline our informal sectors so that we work on things like incentives and other working conditions so that our people can get and they get what they deserve to take care of their families. And then for young people who have been so much into small and medium enterprises, as Africa, we are talking about continental free trade areas. And I believe some of us are from countries which have already signed the agreement. Can the government take initiative to support them, where we can have free movement of our goods and products within East Africa, within Africa? Then I'm looking at the artisanal companies, like in my area where I am, there is oil production taking place, but most of the companies actively taking part in this sector are foreign companies. Can we have some local companies where we also have some artisanal in other countries, like in Nigeria, we saw in Trinidad and Tobago, how local people have been supported to also start up their companies so that they get something at the end of the day. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Edison. What can I add, Shirley? What can I add? I wish I had time for everyone to contribute, but we do have a time frame that we have to respect. And yeah, we think a couple of minutes over that. So I am going to have to wind up right here. However, we really do value, the community that we create, the new people that we find here, and we encourage you to join our Telegram group. Follow us on our socials so we can keep in touch. You can know what we are working on, what conversations we're having, and you can see how to be part of what we are doing wherever you are. I think my colleague has sent our link for the Telegram group. If not, I'm going to ask her to send that as well, and you can just click and join. These conversations continue. Those groups are always active. People want to continue having these conversations. You also get to find out what other people are doing in their own countries, their own communities. It's just a great engagement space. So we would very much like to have you join us again. Let me ask my colleague to send that. But otherwise, this is where we close. A very, very big thank you to our guests. We really appreciate your time. Collins and Shirley, such a pleasure having you. We learned so much from you. I know you also learned so much from the amazing audience that we have with us today. And we'll just continue to follow your work. Please leave your links as well in the comment section. The link to Ubuntu, icreate, would love to support your work and just be a part of what you're doing in the communities. Have a lovely morning, evening, day, and a weekend ahead. Thank you once again for joining us, guys. And that's a wrap. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night. Good night, Africa.
Good night.
Songa mbele.
Well, nice being here, and have a blessed night.
I'm really jealous of these guys. I wish I could be part of them next time.
Let your dream be a reality. We believe, let your dream be a reality.
Yeah, listen, together we shape young men and women with the pillars, with the future. Here we are, let's join together with ability to change communities, with love, with peace, to respond to our need, to call for unity. Africa, hear me cry, never leave me alone. As I see light in a brighter future, let's join hands for youth and women. Let's join hands for youth and women.
I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We believe, let your dream be a reality. We believe, let your dream be a reality.
Yeah, vijana wa Afrika wote waungana, vijana vijana kutoka mashariki, magharibi, kaskazini na kusini, hata na kati, twaja pamoja ili tufanye nini?
So you lead, I lead, we lead together. So you lead, I lead, we lead together. We believe, let your dream be a reality. We believe, let your dream be a reality.
Hello, Kujani. First Bakai. Yana. Bravo. Amahoro. Mambo.